Attention American poker players. Do you want to legally cash out your poker winnings to PayPal? Then head to globalpoker.com and see why it's the fastest growing site for US players. That's globalpoker.com.
Poker Stories is an audio series that features casual interviews with some of the game's best players and personalities. Each episode highlights a well-known figure in the poker world and dives deep into their favorite tales both on and off the feld.
Welcome to Poker Stories, a podcast brought to you by Card Player, the Poker Authority, and hosted by me, Julio Rodriguez. This is episode number 32, featuring one of the best high-stakes tournament grinders in the world, David Peters. Peters is only 30, but is already one of the most accomplished tournament players in history. The Toledo, Ohio native is currently up to $19.5 million in cashes, which is good enough for number 15 on the all-time earnings list. He's also got more than $5 million in online scores. David has won pretty much everything, including a WSOP bracelet, an EPT title, a bunch of high roller events, and the 2016 Card Player Player of the Year award. When we recorded this podcast, David had about $250,000 in cashes so far this year. Now, most people would be thrilled with that, but given the high stakes that David plays for, he obviously wasn't. But sure enough, just a couple days after the interview, he won a $25K US Poker Open event for $400,000. And that's just who David Peters is. He's a guy who just wins. Score after score after score. Consistency. If you're hearing this and it's no longer February, then David has probably won another tournament. Is that enough hype? Enough intro? Here it is, my conversation with David Peters. All right. I am here with David Peters, 30 years old now, right?
Yeah.
Veteran of the poker world these days. How you doing, David?
Life is good.
Life is good. You're coming off of a min cash last night at the Aria for the US Poker Open. Tell me about your day yesterday.
A little disappointing. Got up to chip lead. It's like 15 left and lost a couple big pots and got short. So it was looking like I might bubble, so I was at least happy to get the min cash.
Yeah, well, it's been 12 hours. How over it are you?
I'm pretty over it.
Okay, that's the only reason why I bring it up, because you've been doing this now for a decade. How easy is it for you to shrug off, a so-so finish or a terrible performance or even a close call?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so used to it. I have so many close calls, so many tournaments. You just get used to it and get over it pretty quickly for the most part.
Are there any that standing out in your mind?
As far as
any that gave you, horrific nightmares for weeks afterwards? Any really bad spots that
one that really came to mind is the 111K WSOP this past year.
Oh, the one drop, yeah.
One drop, yeah.
What was the spot?
I was chip leader with 25 left, a good sized chip lead, and then in one orbit I lost 5 standard all-ins and was out. By far the worst orbit of my life.
But everything was standard.
Yeah, no, all the hands played themselves. There's just
you wouldn't do anything differently.
No.
Well, at least you could
exactly.
Hang your hat on that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk about Toledo, Ohio. What were you getting into back in Toledo, Ohio? To be honest with you, there's not a lot of info out there about you. You're kind of like the secret man.
Mysterious.
Yeah. Tell me about childhood. Brothers or sisters?
Yeah, 2 brothers. Mm-hmm. 2 older brothers. Yeah, Toledo's a nice city. I don't spend too much time there much these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, growing up, I was always big into sports, and I always loved games, strategy type stuff. And yeah, so poker.
Were you a standout at anything?
I was always pretty good at basketball, football.
Yeah, you had some height.
Yeah. I was always pretty big into basketball, but then kind of started getting a little out of shape and a little more focused on poker, so I kind of put that in the back seat. But
when was this? High school?
Yeah, I started getting into poker when I was junior in high school, maybe even sophomore towards the end. But
let's see, you're 87, so junior year high school was 2001? No, I'm sorry.
04. I think
04.
Graduated in 05.
Yeah. Okay. So right after the poker boom had really taken off, what was it that sparked your interest in poker? Do you remember?
Yeah, I just remember watching on TV and just thought it was fascinating. And then
So like WPT episodes, or
I think it was
World
like
Series of
World
Poker?
Series. I think it was like when Varconi won it. That was the first year. And
That was
then, like,
02, yeah.
Okay, so that's when I went. Okay, so yeah, so maybe it started a little earlier, but yeah, Varconi moneymaker. But yeah, I just thought it was really fascinating and just.
And what,
really,
you like recruited a group of friends together for home games, or was it like, I mean, your online name was D Peter 17, right?
Yeah.
Were you maybe possibly 17 playing online?
Maybe possibly.
Yeah. So what was the progression for you? When did it go from a passing interest to a full-fledged obsession?
Yeah, I think somewhere around my junior year, I just like kind of playing with friends, my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I was just looking everywhere for free rolls on like all the websites.
Oh,
I was downloading
yeah. Those are
trying,
the days, right?
trying to get all the like bonuses or whatever like that. And
Yeah.
eventually found one.
Bonus whoring.
Yeah, exactly. I found one on Interpoker, and it goes way back, but and yeah, so there was like 1,000 people, and I would play every Sunday, and got deep like a few times, and finally won one for like $600, and then kind of started from there.
That was the bankroll builder, right?
That was the bankroll, yeah.
I remember playing on a site. I think it was a skin for a bigger site, but I want to say it was named after one of the men's magazines at the time, like FHM or Maxim or something like that. And there being thousands of players back in the day when you can just, there was every possible website out there. Were you playing a ton of big stakes when you were still in school, or just splashing around? For a while?
I think by the time while I was still in high school, I started quickly graduating to like higher stakes, and was pretty quickly playing like big high stakes heads up sit and goes.
So what's that like to
goes.
be a kid with money, in Ohio? What are you doing? What trouble are you getting into? Or did you just
Not
keep
a
it all
lot.
online?
I was just playing. I was just playing so much poker, and kind of, I don't know, when I went to college was having some fun, but kind of didn't have the college experience as much as I would have liked.
Where'd you go to school?
Bowling Green.
Okay, Bowling Green University in Kentucky, right?
No, it's in Ohio.
It is in Ohio. Okay.
Yeah, it was like 25 minutes south of where I grew up.
Oh, okay. So you stayed close to home, kept grinding online.
Yeah.
What was the plan with school, or was poker always the plan?
I wasn't really sure. I was kind of just seeing how it was going. My dad kept saying, "Oh, you got to get a job. You got to get a summer job."
What did he do?
He's an accountant.
Okay, so traditional 9 to 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Wants the same for his son.
Yeah, so then, but I was showing him that I can make more money playing poker than at a summer job. So
Even at 17?
Yeah. So I think it was after my sophomore year, or after my junior year, and then so he's like, okay, well it looks like that you can, so I'll give this a shot.
Yeah, he obviously knows numbers. He's not going to ignore them.
Yeah, exactly. And then the next summer came around, and he was like, well, you're clearly making more than any summer job could, so keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so he was always very supportive of that.
You got the support right off the bat.
Yeah.
Well, that's crazy. So when you're in school, you're studying to do what?
I was just in business, undecided, kind of just maybe do finance, accounting, something along those lines. I wasn't really sure yet.
Was the idea just to have a backup plan, or were you didn't know if poker was going to be the thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, originally the idea was to play poker, get a degree, and just kind of keep trying to make it in poker, but have a backup degree to fall back on. But
Yeah.
didn't quite work that way.
Yeah. So how long did it last?
I was there for about a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Made significant progress, I guess.
Yeah.
So obviously, what triggered that? Was it just bad grades, or was it just a matter of you having a huge score and saying, "Let's go for this"?
I think by that point I was just doing very well in poker, and all my focus was kind of on poker, and I wasn't doing too well in school, and it just wasn't like, I just knew that it wasn't really what I wanted to do, and it was something where you don't really know what's going to happen with poker. It could die down. It could be regulated, which it was a few years later.
And you weren't playing live at the time, right? Or not too much live, because you weren't even 21.
Yeah, not much at this point.
So, I mean, that's still kind of a risky move, knowing you're just going to be strictly playing online for a while.
Yeah, it's funny. I believe it was my second year of college. I had won a package, a 10K main event seat to Aussie Millions. But if I would have went, pretty much I had to miss like the whole first week of school, and you can't really do that.
Yeah.
So most of the classes will just kick you out of the class if you do that. So it's kind of like had to make a decision, and I actually chose to go back to school and skip the tournament, and it was non-refundable. I couldn't do anything, so I just had to blind out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I made an effort.
Yeah.
The effort was there. But
I bet you didn't finish last.
I also would have I also would have had to pay for the expenses and stuff like that. But
yeah. You saved yourself a little bit of money.
Yeah. So I mean, I made the effort. I was going to try and give it another year, see what happened. Mm-hmm. And I just kept doing better and better at poker and caring less and less about school.
Was it tournaments back then, or cash, or sit and goes?
It was mostly, at my start, it was mostly sit and goes, and then I kind of
get that shark scope graph going.
Yeah, and then I kind of just did a mix of everything: heads up, sit and goes, cash games, kind of just MTTs, kind of just did a mix.
When did you decide to start playing more live? Because you did it before Black Friday. It wasn't like you were forced to do it. Yeah. Was it just you turned 21, you said, now I'm going to go terrorize this world?
Yeah, I mean, after I turned 18, I was kind of looking for any tournaments I could go to. Mm-hmm. I went to, St. Kitts. I think that was my first live stop, maybe. Mm-hmm.
PCA back in the day, too, right?
Yeah. So, Turning Stone, I went there a few times. Mm-hmm. Any kind of place I could find.
So you weren't one of those people who was content to just sit in front of your laptop and grind away your career?
Yeah, I mean, that was mostly what it was because there wasn't too many places to go at the time.
No, I mean, once you turn 21.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
If you could choose one or the other.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed the traveling and live poker aspect better. It was always kind of my goal to transition out of playing so much online and focus more on live.
It kind of showed up crushing in 2008, 2009. You're winning 1Ks, 2500s here and there. I think for a few years you were known as just that guy who just wins everything at the mid stakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What were those years like? Finding initial early success.
It was nice. I think it was 2008. I think that was when I turned 21. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So. It was funny. I believe it was either the first or second live tournament I played in the U.S. I got a win. I got a win at Caesar's Palace. So that was nice to.
That was a circuit.
Yeah.
You had a circuit title. You had a Heartland Poker Tour title.
Yeah.
You had a prelim title at Bellagio, I believe.
That was a good year.
A lot of what we now call the mid stakes back then was just part of the regular schedule.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, 2013, you finished fourth in our Player of the Year race, 8 final tables, just over $1 million in earnings. 2014 though was kind of quiet. Can you talk a little bit about the downswing years, or just maybe the years that didn't go as well as planned?
Yeah. 2014 was definitely a rough year. I had a lot of momentum. I was doing very well in 13, and just kind of seemed like one of those years where I would get close to a lot of good spots and just lost the big flip or was on the wrong side of the cooler in the big spots. And just one of those years. But I think 2015.
So you just kind of chalked it up mostly to variance then? You don't think you were kind of chasing the glory from the year before?
No, I don't think I was. I was kind of just still going about things the same way. I feel like I never really let results affect kind of my decisions or how I play or anything like that. It was just kind of, there's a lot of variance, a lot of ups and downs in poker. So
yeah, that's true. I don't think anybody in the poker media has ever noticed you get upset at the poker. You've never seen you flip a table, obviously, but even the little things don't seem to ever creep up. Corrected that in 2015, 36th in our POI, 3.1 million. All right, that's obviously a step up.
Yeah.
So to go from, your first few years on the circuit where you're kind of just crushing the mid stakes, then you kind of have a down year, and then all of a sudden high rollers are part of your repertoire. How did that come about? Did somebody just put you in one and it went well, or did you take a shot? What made you decide to jump up?
I don't know. I just felt like I was happy with my game, and I was putting in a lot of work, and I just felt like I was ready. It was time to kind of take the next step and see how it goes. And a little uncomfortable at the start or whatever. You got to get your feet wet a little bit. But then I felt very comfortable, and I was happy.
What do you mean uncomfortable? Uncomfortable with the stakes, or
not
just the
uncomfortable?
field?
I guess more like the first orbit of the first high.
Oh, okay. You mean like literally the first
just
few
like
hands.
kind of like you're like a little, I don't know.
You sit down your first 100K and it's like, oh, okay, this feels a little different.
Yeah, I think the first 100K I sat down was just like all sickos, and it was just kind of like funny. But I eventually got.
We're those businessmen everyone keeps talking
about.
I follow that up with obviously winning our Player of the Year race in 2016. Then this last year you finished 6th. Crazy run the last 3 years. Do you attribute that at all to a change in your approach, maybe a new studying technique, or just a new process?
I definitely think the past 2 or 3 years, I've studied a lot more than I did in kind of most of my career. I think I was too focused on just trying to play as much as I can and trying to just keep chasing big scores, and just trying to turn downswings around and stuff like that, and not put enough time into actually studying and getting better. So I made that a emphasis in the past few years to put a lot more time.
Now, what does that actually look like? Yeah, what does that actually look like? Is that just a matter of just making note of your hands that you play in a session, going back and reviewing afterwards, or are you memorizing?
No, I mean there's programs I use to study.
Yeah.
Kind of just working on ranges and a lot of equities and a lot of simulating a lot of different situations that can come up, because obviously just infinite of them. So just trying to be as well prepared in all these situations as possible.
What would you say is your playing style these days? Are you a more mechanical approach? Are you strictly numbers based, trying to remain as balanced as possible, or do you like to every once in a while just size somebody up?
It varies. Definitely, it's a mix of both. I don't think you should just be strictly one way or the other, but sometimes you got to go through gut, you got to go through feel, or you have to play certain opponents differently than others, and you're not worried so much about balance against someone who's might be an amateur you don't really play that much with.
You play more exploitatively.
Yeah, but if you play with someone you play with every day in high rollers, you're going to try and focus more on being balanced and stuff like that.
You just barely squeaked by Fedor in 16 for the POY. That must have been crazy, right? Because I can't imagine it was in your mind to go for POY the way it happened.
Yeah, I literally didn't even wasn't even thinking about it. I just wasn't even looking, or if it was a chance. I just knew he was having a crazy year. I was like, okay, he's probably gonna win.
Yeah.
But and then towards the end of the year, I was stringing some nice scores together and kind of realized it towards the end of the year, and I was like, oh, wow, I have a shot at this.
It's funny, you said on Twitter that momentum is no joke, and I'm wondering what you meant by that. Do you really feel like, you should chase when you have a good result like that, or is it just a matter of you feeling like you're in the zone?
Yeah, I just feel like maybe you're more confident in your decisions. I don't know. Sometimes it just seems like things are going your way, so it just kind of continues to do that way. I was semi-joking. I'm not sure exactly how I feel on the whole subject of momentum, to be honest. But yeah, sometimes it seems very crazy when things just keep falling in your way, or things don't seem to go your way. It just keeps happening.
Right. You want to be clear. You're not talking about the math suddenly favors you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, I'm very realistic.
But it does seem like, especially in these high rollers, that people do tend to get hot in them and kind of go off a few tournaments in a row. And the way they're structured, where you can basically play them back to back to back for a week straight, especially, this week of the year. What is it? Chidwick just went back to back.
Yeah.
It does feel like hot streaks, momentum are a thing.
Yeah, it's tough to explain. I'm not really sure.
You've cashed for $250,000 so far this year. Do you feel like you're in a hot streak right now?
No, definitely not.
I think most people would see $250,000 and feel pretty good. So what are you doing, in those situations where it doesn't feel like everything's going in your way? Is it just a matter of putting in your entry fee and just riding it out, or do you go back to the drawing board, or?
No, I mean, I just continue going about it the way I always have. I kind of just keep putting in the work. Poker is a game where the variance is crazy. I mean, no matter how good someone can play or how things can just go very bad for a long period of time. So I try to be as well prepared as possible so maybe if I do get kings to aces at the final table, maybe at this time I'm not out, whereas a couple years ago I might have been out, and now I can spin it up because I played well the whole tournament. So kind of just things like that. So I just try to work as hard as possible and just be as well prepared as I can.
Can you talk a little bit about what kind of variance people are seeing in these high rollers?
I mean, the variance is absurd. I mean, it's crazy. There's just a lot of high equity spots where, and there's just unavoidable, and there's a cooler, and playing for so much money that if a lot of them don't go your way in a row, then that can really start to sting on your bankroll, and it can put you in some tough spots for sure, especially if you are very aggressive with your bankroll management.
Well, then that begs the question, why play them? You know what I mean?
There's still...
You know what I mean? There's a reason why you play here instead of going to the 10K main event Aussie Millions. You know what I mean? Or there's a reason why people play the 100K over, 25Ks or whatever it might be.
Well, I wouldn't say I would play these over the 10K Aussie Millions. I would definitely play that. That's just halfway. That's just on the other side of the world, and I'm trying to travel a little bit less now. But no, I think there's still a lot of value in these, and
because the idea of I think a lot of people see them from the outside looking in, and they go, they're just passing money around.
Yeah,
they just pass. None of them are actually risking this much. They all have pieces of each other that's just swapping money, and it's whoever's hot this week.
Yeah.
But I was like, why would people keep playing them if that was the case?
Yeah, if that was the case, then people wouldn't play them. I mean, I guess everyone probably thinks maybe they're better than the others, or so some people might be delusional or thinking that they're making good money and then when they're actually not, or maybe they're break even or whatever. But so I just try to work as hard as I can, and I'm confident that I'm doing well in these, and I think I've had the results to show it. So
obviously,
so I'm just gonna keep working hard and just keep trying. And I just love competing against the best and trying to, become the best or considered one of the best. And so I just want to keep working at that.
Well, let's talk about your motivation. Is it money? Or is it to be the best? Is it legacy? Is it titles? What drives you at this point?
It's a mix of all of those. I definitely. My biggest goal always was to be the best player playing these high rollers. Now it's more difficult for someone like me who's traveling so much and has so much going on compared to someone who's just in their basement 7 days a week and they can just study all day, every day, and do nothing else. But so it's going to be a little tougher for people like us who play the super high rollers. We have to travel so much. But so I try to that's always my goal, is to try and just become the best tournament player out there. And I'm just trying to work as hard as I can to get there.
Well, what's the goal in your mind? Do you have a number in mind? Do you have of titles, cash, whatever? Do you have a certain number of years you'd like to stay in the game? Or do you want to be the next Eric Seidel, crushing it?
I don't really have a set. I'm not exactly sure. It kind of just going with the flow and just, add to my legacy and just kind of keep playing and see how I feel. I don't know exactly how I'm going to feel a few years from now, or if maybe I'm going to start putting in a lot more work into something else, and so I can't play as much. But I definitely want to still be around doing like the Eric Seidel, where I'm competing in the biggest tournaments for a long time, even if I'm not on the full-time poker grind or anything like that.
Oh, you do another 10 years, you should be a lock for the Hall of Fame, right? Let's see. I caught your SportsCenter segment.
Yeah.
You even said poker was a sport, which was good. But they kind of questioned whether or not a poker player could even be profitable. I thought that was a little 2002 of them, considering they interviewed you in 2017, or maybe it was.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't know a whole lot about poker or how it worked. They didn't really seem to know even how a hand was played or anything like that.
But tell me about that experience going down to LA and and being on SportsCenter? What was that like?
Oh, it was awesome. It was cool to see the set.
Did they fly you out, or were you already in town? Or?
I was already in town, so
Okay.
it kind of worked out nice. They kind of scheduled like around me being there, so it was cool. But yeah, it was nice to meet the guys, see the set, give poker some more exposure. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I thought you did a good job with their corny banter back and forth. You know what I mean?
Certainly a little corny, but
But it reminded me of a fun question is like poker players often have to teach what they do to everyone they meet. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I'm wondering what's the most common, dumb question you get from non-poker friends and family, or just people on the rail, or just a cab driver who happens to find out who you are, or whatever you mean. Do you ever get any like really dumb questions like that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's just like, oh, you must have a great poker face, or do you like that song "Poker Face" by Katy Perry? Is that your favorite song?
I don't think it's by Katy Perry.
Or whoever sings it. I don't know.
Isn't that Lady Gaga?
Or that's Lady Gaga.
Yeah. That's okay. Well, we have a music question later. I guess she won't be coming up.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff like that, and you kind of just hear it over and over and play along. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's kind of whatever. They're just having fun with it.
What about the older brothers? What do they do?
My older brother Mike, he used to play quite a bit. I was like backing him for a while back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
He was traveling with me a little bit. Hasn't been playing too much poker lately. He played during the summer though. Kind of came back and did pretty well. But yeah, so he's playing poker here and there, doing some other stuff. And
I was wondering if the whole family got into cards after.
it was me and Mike. My oldest brother kind of played here and there, but never really got into it. Not much of the gambling type.
And your dad's like, oh, the numbers don't add up.
Yeah, he didn't get into poker too much. He loved, like, my parents love watching me and love following my career and stuff like that, but never really actually played. But.
We have some rapid fire questions for you if you're ready.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. What's the biggest pot you've ever won or lost? Your choice. I don't know if you play a ton of cash ever.
Not much. I mean, I have here and there. I haven't gotten into too many like super high stakes games though.
But like, what about even equity?
Oh, equity. Yeah, I've certainly played a lot of high equity spots. My biggest equity spot.
The crazy thing is that you have $19.1 million in earnings, but only 2 seven-figure scores. I think a lot of people would assume they see somebody with $20 million in earnings, he's going to have a $6 million score in there somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not even, nothing comes close to that. You've been kind of chunking it away at it a $250,000 at a time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what is that high equity spot, or, your choice, win or loss?
Trying to think. I feel like I don't even remember like the big hand.
That's probably why you're winning.
Like it kind of just like after it's over, it just like turns into a blur, and that's the past, and then I move on.
Your girlfriend wants to share a story.
I think the Queens in the 300K, right? Losing against like a huge flip Queens in the 300K.
The super high roller bowl?
Yeah.
Versus what they have?
I don't remember, but this was one of the flips. They had you at Queens, and you just like lost.
This is funny. This was a huge flip you lost in the $300,000 buy-in super high roller bowl, and you have no idea what she's talking about.
Yeah.
I guess it must not have been important. Just one of those small tournaments. 300K. I have no idea.
Yeah, kind of just like or maybe one of, I don't know if it's the same one, but yeah, I lost the one versus Dan Shack. He had aces. Maybe that's the one. I don't know. But and yeah, so I like kind of bubbled that one, and so that was. I'm sure I've had some much bigger. Honestly, nothing even comes to mind. I try to just forget about it.
That's like an amazing skill to have, to just be able to shut your brain off. I would be up for weeks afterwards. Who's the best poker player that we've never heard of?
Best poker player you've never heard of.
Is there anybody out there that you see every day who's just quietly doing their thing, doing well, but never gets any love from the likes of me?
I would say, yeah, most people, and like he doesn't play much live poker, but I would say Robbie Lipkin.
I don't know Robbie.
Yeah,
Lipkin.
he goes by Play a Please on Stars. He's like a head coach or a coach for standard backing, and I talk a lot of poker with him. Works very hard, constantly playing, studying, learning new concepts, stuff like that. But kind of just enjoys staying home and grinding online. So it doesn't play too much live poker. So not really in the limelight.
He's not the jet setter that you are.
No.
Do you really? You said you like traveling, and I mean you're trying to do it less, but that's not gonna really happen. Come on.
I always say that, so who knows? But no, I probably slow down a little bit for now, and then kind of see what happens.
But you must be a good traveler these days, right?
Yeah, it never really bothered me that much. I kind of just got used to it.
You see the faces she's making? You see the faces she's making? Disagreeing with everything you're saying?
Well,
yeah, I mean, it's gotta be good to not be completely living out of your suitcase all the time.
Yeah.
How much were you on the road last year? Because let's bring this up again. 40 final tables in the last 2 years. That's a lot of travel.
Yeah, the last couple of years I went very hard, just traveling nonstop.
You ever add up the miles?
I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, I was gone. Yeah, pretty much most of the year, maybe 10 months out of the year, something like that.
Let's see here. Oh, best swap or piece you've ever gotten?
Best swap or piece?
Are you a big swapper?
Yeah, I swap here and there. I think.
I imagine people are always asking you to swap.
Yeah, I get a good amount of. Yeah, it's nice to have a good group of people you can kind of swap with here and there if you want to lower the buy-in or whatever like that. I think it was I swapped with Scott Seaver and I believe it was a 25K Monte Carlo that he won.
That'll do it.
Something like that. That was a good one. Yeah, I think that was probably the biggest
Did
one.
any particularly hurt you?
Yeah.
That's the one that you try to forget, right?
Yeah.
What about D-Gen's story? Are you a prop bet guy? You ever get into anything like that?
When I was younger, like in my earlier days, I mean, I guess my first year living out in Vegas, I was only 20 at the time, so I was kind of just
trapped in your room.
Yeah, I was playing like cash games at whatever, and we had a putting green in the backyard, and we had a putting. We would like make these crazy bets on like putts, or we'd have like a pool table, and like how like you lag from one side of the table to the other trying to get it closest to the rail. We would have like do that for like 5K or something like that, just like stupid stuff. Like we were, I don't know, dumb. We would play like dice games, like Yahtzee and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We did one where if you roll a Yahtzee on your first roll, it was like 20. It was like something crazy. Like we were playing for whatever, and it was 50 times that or something. Jeez. And my friend won. He rolled a Yahtzee in the first roll. I'd won the absolute 1K that day, and we were playing Yahtzee, and then like we just figured no one's gonna roll Yahtzee the first roll. Come on, it was whatever. Yeah. And then ended up being down for the day.
After winning the absolute poker 1,000
for like 30K or something.
Yeah, I remember those frequently being around $27,000 for first place.
It was some stupid stuff. Yeah, we were playing, and then so after that, I calmed down much more. Kind of got out of that. I stopped doing I still do like some random stuff here and there, but not anything like I used to when I was younger.
You're not in the pits dumping all your
cash?
cash?
I never really go to the pits.
What about sports bets? Anything?
Nah. If I randomly go to the pits or sports bet, it's for reasonable amounts and just to have fun with friends.
Just to have fun.
Or have a nice sweat for the game where I don't care if I lose.
Seems like this generation of players is just not entranced by the pit at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems
talk to the older generation, and
they're all in
they
there.
Played poker just to fund their craps habit.
Satellite to the blackjack table.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's still some that are younger that are crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
I remember, Prince.
Yeah.
I remember he won his WPT buy-in on a $500, craps stake.
Yeah.
And he just took it right to the craps table, came right back, bought in $25K.
I was at PCA a couple years ago, and a friend of mine, I'll leave his name out, but I saw him on break, and it was break with a $25K. And we were just kind of talking, catching up. He was like, all right, well, I'm going to get back to the blackjack table. I'm pulling my blackjack satellite to the 25K. I'm like 18K short, so I got to go grind.
Oh, wasn't there a guy who final tabled the one drop? I think it's the one that Fedor won. But he won his $111,000 buy-in playing blackjack, I want to say.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's the guy who finished 5th.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember his name, though. I'll have to look it
That
up later.
sounds familiar. I can't remember who it was.
I'm going to look it up and then say it in the outro of this.
Okay.
So I'm not leaving the listeners hanging. All right, when you got your headphones on at the table, are you a headphones on at the table type of guy?
I like to have headphones on when I'm in a hand, just to kind of block out all the noise.
Really?
Yeah, I don't even really listen to
Most
music.
people take them off when they're in their hand.
No, I don't really care to have them on when I'm not in the hand. I kind of don't want to like be the guy who just has his headphones on 12 all day, every day. But yeah, so I like when I am in the hand, I try to focus as much as possible.
The headphones are basically your fossil sunglasses.
Exactly.
There you go. What are you listening to? Not Katy Perry.
Just like soothing like jungle sounds. Pretty
What?
much. Yeah, just like I like to. I don't really like to listen to music or like lyrics. It kind of like I don't know. I just like to listen to soothing kind of.
All right,
just meditating type music.
Is this just you in general or just at the table?
Just at the table.
Oh, okay, because I actually had a roommate in college who didn't like music.
All right.
And we'd ask him what he likes, and he's like, I don't know, what is out there. He had no idea, so maybe you're one of those.
No.
No. What are you listening to?
I like a mix. I like rap, some EDM, like rock. I kind of like everything. It kind of just nothing like super specific. I guess rap is probably the most thing I listen to, but
Yeah, Toledo rap.
yeah.
I can't get you to drop one name, huh? Okay. Let's see here. Any poker rules that you're not a fan of? Or that can be tweaked or done away with?
Any poker rules?
Or any poker rules you want to add?
I think one thing that 100% needs to be done is the big blind ante or button ante.
That's crazy. It's come up 3 weeks in a row. This is going to be the new thing.
I mean, I just think it's not even close. It shouldn't even be a debate. It just has to happen.
I was just talking to my editor about this because I was like, everyone's talking about this big blind ante. I think it's going to be the new thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's debatable whether it should be big blind or button ante, and I honestly don't really care either way.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
Yeah, whatever like the amateurs like the most is what it should be. So
you're for those that don't know or have listened to the last 2 weeks, a big blind ante is basically every time it's your big blind, you pay the antes for the entire table, and it just speeds up the game because now the dealer doesn't have to collect it from every single player.
Yeah.
And you want to see this in every tournament.
Yeah, it just needs to be. I mean, it just slows down the game so much. So many people are doing this, doing that, not paying attention. Dealers have to yell at everyone every single hand that ante. It's just so, and I'm sure the dealers would love it. They only have to bug one person who might forget. And then it's just
The WSOP should try it this year.
Yeah,
just in one.
Everyone's on their headphones or walking. They're doing. It's just such. It's always a mess. It just seems so nice, so much nicer and cleaner. And
leave it to the high stakes players.
Yeah.
To push back against the deeper, longer tournaments and slower procedures. You know what I mean? They're like, hurry it up. We want fast 25Ks, and we want big blind antes.
We want to see as many. We want to get as many hands in. No one wants to play 20 hands an hour.
Was there a poker pro that you admired coming up, and did you ever get to play a pot with him or her?
Coming up, yeah, I've always, admired, like, Phil Ivey or I think like Daniel Negreanu, people like that. They're always thought that was very good for the game.
So you were a little bit of a fanboy back when you first started?
Yeah, when I first started, for sure.
Read all the books. And
Moneymaker. Yeah. That's such a cool story. Stuff like that.
Yeah. And who's got the better of who in the you versus Phil?
I'm not sure exactly.
What about you and Daniel? That's been happening a lot more recently, right?
He got me. He's won a couple of big, like, all-ins versus me. He got me in a good one in the 25K in WSOP Europe. Mm-hmm. So he's probably certainly up on me after that big flip. But.
All right, then you're due.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see here. How have you ever felt bad about taking someone's money? It's
Not
okay if
really.
the answer is no.
Not really. I'm just a cold-hearted person.
Yeah, you're just cold-hearted.
No, I mean, everyone...
I can't imagine there's too many desperate, sad people playing 25Ks these days. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, plus, I mean, everyone...
It has to be back in the day.
Yeah, everyone can make their own decision. I mean, whether they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and whether it's they lose the pot versus me or someone else, it's their decision.
A fool and his money are soon parted. What was the worst job you had before poker? Oh, that's right. You didn't have any jobs.
I've never had a job.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah,
I knew that before, but now you saying it out loud, it's just even crazy. You've never filled out like one of those forms. I mean,
No.
it's a W4, W2. Can't remember. You have no
Wow.
idea what that is.
No clue.
No one has ever given you a paycheck before.
Never.
Do you think you'll ever collect a paycheck?
Probably not, unless it's from a casino, from a tournament check.
That's crazy. You have no working history. I mean, independent, obviously.
Yeah, it just kind of happened that way. My parents didn't want me working while I was going to school. They wanted me to focus on school, and then the summer came around, and I kind of convinced them that poker was better, and then just went from there.
If poker went away tomorrow, what would you look for? What would you do? This might be the scariest question to you of all people.
I would be putting in like a lot of work into like I would probably want to be maybe a trader or put work into like crypto, stuff like that.
Okay. Are you big in crypto these days?
Yeah.
My condolences over the last few
years. Yeah.
But who knows? By the time this episode comes out, people might just be
exactly.
doing backflips over
it. Yeah, it bounces around a lot. It's pretty crazy.
Are you one of those don't look at it type of people? Just kind of like, no, look at it. He didn't even answer. He didn't even answer the question. He just turned around and looked at you just to see.
I gotta cut back on
You're
that.
Constantly hitting refresh?
Yeah,
is that basically what's
that.
happening? My God, that's the new sweat. That's got to be the new sweat.
Yeah.
Proudest poker. You've had a lot of wins. You got the bracelet last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you had a second at the series before that.
Yeah.
Was that one a particularly brutal second, where you should have won?
Yeah, that was rough. I had like a 5 or 6 to 1 chip lead against. It later turned out to seem like a pretty decent player, but it was kind of like someone who I thought I had a very big edge versus, and very confident I was going to win my first bracelet, so close, big chip lead, and then literally not even, I don't even know if it was an hour or 30 minutes, it just lost a few big all-ins and was out. I was just devastated.
Yeah, it's crazy because when you won the bracelet, I was like, what is that? What number bracelet is that for David? Like 3? Like in my brain, I was just assumed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had like every place at the final table except first, something like that.
I mean, it
wasn't
wasn't the biggest score of your career, but obviously, it has to rank up there. What do you put as the pinnacle of your career so far?
The pinnacle, I would say. It wasn't like the biggest win, but. Either one of two. When I won Bellagio Cup main event in 2013, I believe, that was kind of like I've had bigger scores, but that was kind of like the first like big main event that I won. I think it was my biggest score at the time, and just kind of like turned around like a big downswing, and I would definitely say that was one of the biggest ones.
You've had 13 scores bigger than that one. That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
I was just counting because you said it's not my biggest, and I'm like looking for that score. I'm like, man, it's way down here.
That one or the Aria 25K that I won in December 2015. That was kind of like my first like big high roller win, and that kind of like started like my big 2016 run. So I think those are two of the ones Yeah,
that one's number 9 on your all-time 10 list. At least it made the top 10. That's crazy. It's not always the money.
Yeah, it's more like meaningful or more
it's not always the money.
Represents, I guess.
We end the podcast the same way every time with a question from the random question generator. And you get a fun one here. If you could call up anyone in the world and have a 1-hour conversation, They have to stay on the phone with you for the entire hour. Who would you call? I believe they have to be alive. It doesn't say anything about living or dead.
You?
What was that?
She said it better be me.
I assume you could be next to him while he's on the phone on speaker. You could share in the experience. Jay-Z? Is that the name he wouldn't drop earlier?
I would probably say...
What would you talk about with Jay-Z?
No, I would say Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
All right, what are you bringing up for? Are you just like gushing the whole time in this conversation?
I mean, I would just...
Are you criticizing? Are you like, I don't like the way you ran the Wizards?
No, just someone like that who just has such a desire to win, such an amazing work ethic. Just like you can just see in his face how much it means to him to win or lose. Yeah, I would just kind of ask him how like his thought process and how he goes about it.
It's a very David Peters answer.
Yeah, I mean...
You're picking his brain for greatness? That's crazy.
Yeah, it would just be very fascinating.
Hello, Michael. I am also the greatest at my sport. I thought we had a lot in common. We should be friends. I mean, but after that, what are you talking about? You got to have some casual conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, kind of see some fun stories or how life is on the road or as an NBA player, stuff like that. It'd be fun for sure.
All right, David. I got to let you get to the 25K. Good luck today.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, as promised, the guy I mentioned earlier who ran up a buy-in for the One Drop event was a gambler from Texas named Brian Green. He was up for 5 days straight and somehow managed to turn $10,000 into the $111,000 buy-in for the tournament. He then finished in 5th place for more than $1.1 million. Thanks again to David Peters. You can follow him on Twitter at dpeterspoker17. If you like what you heard, please hit subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to go the extra mile and leave us a nice review, let us know about it with an email to pokerstories@cardplayer.com, and we'll hook you up with a free digital subscription to the magazine. Thanks for listening. Attention American poker players! Do you want to legally cash out your poker winnings to PayPal? Then head to globalpoker.com and see why it's the fastest growing site for US players. That's globalpoker.com.